What's up, team?
Hey guys, we are here today to clarify the roles and responsibilities between the worship leader and the MD. So let's start with the worship leader.
Yeah, definitely wanted to have this discussion because we've been doing it for a while and we've never quite had this discussion. And so it's an interesting dance between what an MD does, what a worship leader does. So yeah, for a worship leader, I would say that simply coming ready to worship. And when I think about that, I think about one eye on God. I think about one eye on the congregation. And so one eye on God, like actually come with a spiritual readiness, a spiritual depth to worship God in spirit and in truth. And then one eye on the congregation to recognize that like this is a unique time with these people. These people are responding to God. God is responding to them. And so you have this like embracing arm out toward the people saying, come along, let's all do this together and let's worship God. And so in the most simple terms, to have an eye on God and to have an eye on the people is a worship leader's responsibility.
Yeah, and then there's a practical reality to their responsibility. We want you to know not only do you have permission, we actually want you to come with a arrangement in mind.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of the main reasons we wanted to have the videos because I think this is atrophied a little bit, gotten a little bit weaker over the years because the lines have gotten blurred of, well, isn't that like, maybe just this assumption that that's the music director's role. And we're saying that, no, that's not, that worship leaders, we want you to be thinking through your songs, to actually maybe be singing them on your own time, to listen to different churches, how they're doing it, but then have this eye out of like, man, Holy Spirit, are you highlighting certain things? Is there like a cool declaration piece in the song? Is there a cool like identity piece in the song? Is there a cool just humble prayer in the song that's really being highlighted by the Holy Spirit right now? And so maybe that falls in verse 2. Maybe that falls in the bridge. But then thinking through like, man, I don't have to always just do verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. But like maybe we want to go back and highlight these certain parts and build it up this way. That being said.
I mean, is the original version lame?
No, the original version's not lame. And so sometimes, like, specifically a song may function that way in a set list, where just to do the basic arrangement of like a radio version, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, is what's best for that moment and for that evening. So that's not innately lame or less spiritual, but all the while, the responsibility of the worship leader is to be thinking that way, like, how do I want to lead this song?
Yeah.
And then how do I want to lead these people in this song? And so that's what I would say for that.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the music director. What kind of roles are different for them?
Yeah. I think it's cool that we don't use multi-tracks and guide tracks for the entire song. There's obviously big pros to doing that. We've chosen the more like human interactive element with doing an MD. That stands for music director. And basically like the MD's responsibility is to think about music, skill, band cohesion, dynamic cohesion. And so just being able to execute that live and help guide the team through all that stuff. There are transitions that happen that are tough. There can be time signature things that are tough. There can be chord progressions that may need to change live. And so that's where the MD's focus is at, is helping the musicality all come together for the band.
But since we're not using tracks, they don't just function as a guide track. We want you as the band members to build up memorizing, to know what we did in practice, to have that in mind. They're not telling you, okay, chorus here.
Yeah.
Now we're going to bridge. Now we're going back to chorus. They shouldn't have to do that.
That was probably the second reason we wanted to make the video too, is because we felt like we got a little bit weaker in just leaning on the MD to like almost spoon feed us every section along the way of the arrangement. And we're saying that we want to grow in our memorization skills with that, both as a band and a worship leader. To actually think back. Maybe you have to do it by writing it down, but to think back, what did we just do at rehearsal that we really liked? We were just playing this together in rehearsal, and we're worshiping in rehearsal. We feel the Spirit moving in rehearsal. And so it's like be able to remember that 1 hour later when we're doing it in the service. And so the MD is there to help guide, but they're not to be the track voice every section along the way. And so.
Yeah, and so as we have this convo, we also recognize different sets and different MDs make a difference with how this all functions.
Yeah. And so Wesley's a little bit tricky in the sense that like we have different types of sets, and like even if a bass player's MD in that night, or if I'm MD in that night, I'm probably going to bring a different blurring of the lines than the bass player would be if they're MDing. And so just recognizing that dynamic, that even from what person is MDing, that may that may blur some of the lines a little bit. But then even what set we're in, that may blur some of the lines a little bit, because a freshly set or a main set or a ministry set, we just improvise more at ministry set because we rehearse less. We rehearse it like 30 to 60 seconds. And then we just do more live,
we
and so
more time.
Yeah, we have more time to like respond in those types of ways, or to have like Selah moments where we're pausing, or to like really slowly build something up and do a lot of repetition. All those types of things. And it's not like we can't do that at Freshly. It's not like we can't do that at a main set. We just do it less, and that doesn't make it any less than. That doesn't make it any less spiritual, but. We rehearse those more. And so we're actually working those things out of how do we want to work this out dynamic-wise, arrangement-wise in the rehearsal. And so, but just recognizing even those differences, that the dance between what a MD and the band and the worship leader does changes in those different scenarios.
Yeah, and we just want to keep growing in this and pursuing the Lord together. Thank you guys for what you do.
Thanks.